Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to play Ant Keeping with F3X. It is one of my favorite ant games. So today we're going to be doing fire ants versus carpenter ants. This is going to be a really good one. If you want to find this game, just search up Ant Keeping with F3X on Roblox. It might be the first one that pops up, or you might have to scroll a bit, but leave your request for which war we should do next. Leave your request in the comments. They have termites, bulldog ants, I think these are pavement ants, and carpenter ants and fire ants. Termites, in my opinion, seem really boring because there's not really much to do with them. Plus, the eggs are very small, so it's very hard to see the nymphs and eggs. So, please like and subscribe because it helps me out a lot. I might do a Q&A if we reach 100 subscribers. But no personal questions, okay? Okay. And guess what? I'm going into 3rd grade, yay! So, I'm gonna talk using chat. So, first let's get the test tubes. So the test tubes will be right next to each other. So first we're going to put in our carpenter ant queen. She's quite large, so we used one of the larger test tubes. Now we're going to put in Her Majesty, the Fire Ant Queen. I know these are fire ants because it's Solops Invicta. I think that's how you pronounce it. No, I pronounced it wrong, but let's put in the Fire Ant Queen. I forgot which one Solops Invicta is. It's either red imported fire ant or tropical fire ant. Leave what you think it is in the comments. So first we're gonna have to set up the test tubes. So cotton. This game literally has everything to make wonderful ant keeping shots. Like, just imagine you use this game to try and boot up your ant keeping to see if you are a good ant keeper, and you realize that this game is really fun. I definitely would recommend. I do not have the link in my description. I don't know how to send links. So we're gonna put in the first fire ant egg. Queen fire ant's protecting it with her life. Then we're gonna put in the first carpenter ant egg. So I'm gonna voice act what the narrator is saying. If you're wondering how I got the idea to make little ant wars like this, I was playing this game until my friend joined me, and we made a little RP called Ants vs. Termites. Every time he tries to play it with me again, he always ends up leaving. Like, I had an army the first time we played it, and then he ended up leaving. It was so weird. But he's still online, unlike my friend Mazink or Samuel, who stopped talking to me in 2024. And he isn't even online. So, 3, 2, 1. Narrator. This fire ant queen and carpenter ant queen have their first egg. They are protecting it with their lives because they need to make sure that they have a colony. After a few months, the queen fire ant, after a few weeks, the queen fire ant has a batch of eggs. So let me make the batch of eggs. Okay. And the fire ant queen also has her first larva. The fire ant queen will have to feed and nourish this larva until adulthood. Meanwhile, the carpenter ant queen, after a few weeks, also has a small batch of eggs and one larva. These queens are genuinely slow, but we must wait. We gotta wait. If we want our own colonies, then we gotta wait for 'em. On day 62, the first carpenter ant worker has its pupal casing. And the egg cluster that the carpenter ant queen had is way larger. Oh no. Ignore that. Meanwhile, the fire ant queen has her first worker on the way. On day 72, the first carpenter ant worker has emerged. The carpenter ant worker immediately knows what to do, so she does what she knows she's gonna do. She starts cleaning the pupa. She stands up on 2 legs, feeding the pupa. The carpenter ant queen stays in the same spot, while the fire ant queen also has her first worker. The fire ant worker is feeding the fire ant larvae. The fire ant worker feeds the larva. Another carpenter ant worker emerges, this one seeming more confident. The second carpenter ant worker stays in the front line of carpenter ant defense. The human knows that she isn't strong at all, but just wants to protect her colony from anything that could easily kill them. The third carpenter ant worker emerges, and she's ready to defend help. Like she is reinforcements for her sister, ready to defend. The fourth carpenter ant worker emerges. Meanwhile, the fire ant colony isn't growing slow at all. The fire ant colony already has 6 workers. They are all ready to protect, all ready to defeat what could easily come from them. The ant colonies are growing super strong now, so the human decides to feed them some honey. They both get a single drop of honey, but it's not puny. It helps them grow. The carpenter ant workers immediately find it and start drinking. The fire ant workers decide to transfer the drop of honey to the queen. The queen, usually being in the back, decides to feed. The human decides to create an outworld for them. But the carpenter ants don't get an outworld. They are too big for it. The fire ants do, though. A fire ant worker decides to venture out. She goes out, and the human, while the queen is feeding, decides to be a bit mean and takes the honey drop into the outworld, where the honey drop would be quite safe, actually, as there aren't many workers to feed on it yet. The queen steps back in shock, her meal getting taken away from her. How dare that puny giant! Her Majesty seems super angry, but decides not to show it as she has already raised a colony. And the carpenter ants, instead, they get an ant farm. This ant farm is ready for something, but the ants don't know what they're in for. The ants don't seem scared of the ant farm. Yet. The queen seems a bit startled. But the rest are fine with it. Just chilling with it. A carpenter ant worker decides to venture out into the new nest. Her instinctive predatory mandibles roam throughout the nest as she searches for something they've been craving for so long. She searches for live prey. She's ready to kill. She suddenly spots a drop of honey in a feeding area. She starts drinking. She really thinks it's good and decides to alert the others about it. She sends out a giant pheromone saying that food is there. The human had already removed the original honey drop, so they get more of a meal. Another worker ventures in. She immediately starts feasting on the honey drop. Soon the pheromone bustles through the colony. And not only that, but the carpenter ant queen decides to step in and see how it's like in there. The carpenter ant queen, as royal as she is, steps in, but she is immediately greeted with being squished as she is too large. Meanwhile, the fire ants immediately know what they're in for. So they try to get as much protein as they possibly can, as they know that they have a battle incoming. The first fire ant worker steps in the puddle of honey, starts drinking. The fire ant queen has a plan for herself. The fire ant queen, as royal as she is, steps out for some reason and decides to go outside for the last time of her whole life. She sniffs the fresh air, but she doesn't wander far at all. She immediately goes back, not liking the atmosphere. Part 2 is going soon, guys. Bye!